the Mayoral Candidate Forum. My name is John Sokolowski, and I would like to welcome you to the 2015 primary mayoral forum for the City of Wilkes-Barre. This forum is being brought to you by the Downtown Wilkes-Barre Residents Association. Now, we're about a little over 100 strong, and we try to do things to better the City of Wilkes-Barre. We do this by sponsoring public presentations such as this one this evening, and advocating our neighbors and supporting community functions. We're called the DRA, and it is a nonpartisan organization, and as such we've invited all mayoral candidates that are on record at the Luzerne County Board of Elections. So if anyone did not register with Luzerne County, we are not aware of your candidacy, and therefore you're not up on the podium this evening. All candidates are introduced. Each candidate will be invited to give a 3-minute statement of his or her platform. After all candidates have spoken, each candidate will answer each of the questions that have been generated by the DRA membership. Our committee polled our members, and we had several questions, and we narrowed it down based on the time element here this evening, which is going to run from 7 till 9 o'clock this evening. So we have 10 questions to ask each candidate. And then there will be an informal session where candidates will be invited to move around the room, provided an opportunity to meet on an individual basis with the attendees. My colleague this evening, Mr. Ward, will introduce each candidate.
Now I'd like to open the forum and introduce our attendees in no particular order. So we have Mr. Brian Kelly, Mr. George Brown, Mr. Tony George, Ms. Darlene Duggins-Magdalinski, and Mr. Frank Sorick. Now, gentlemen, you're allowed to ask, and ladies, gentlemen, you're allowed to give a brief introduction for 3 minutes. So, Mr. Kelly, you start.
Too much frontage.
Good evening to all. Thank you, Downtown Residents Association, for this event so the public can meet the mayoral candidates. I'm Brian Kelly, a JFK Democrat with sane conservative values. I ask Republicans to vote me in as a writer. 2 favorites in this race are Wilkes-Barre Councilmen, both very well financed. Their handsome faces are everywhere. Radio, TV, newsprint. I have no war chest, but I envy theirs. Council has served over 3 years, has 8 months left. Is it fair that they blame Mayor Leighton for everything, while they hold top positions in this poorly functioning city? 2 councilmen have great plans if they become mayor. Where have they been? Why not pass ordinances to help people right now? Should council take 8 months off while Wilkes-Barre is blowing up from gangs and drugs and thugs? Why wait to be mayor to have ideas? I'm not a politician, not part of the administration, not from any of the special privileged families in Wilkes-Barre who know somebody. I know nobody. I owe nobody, and I am owned by nobody. Like you, I don't know, and I don't like what's going on in Wilkes-Barre. I love this city. I'm a problem solver, MBA in accounting and finance. I have a background to cut the budget to make this city affordable. I solved problems for 23 years as an IBM systems engineer in business, government, and hospitals. Afterwards, I networked the campus at College Misericordia, taught courses at Misericordia, Marywood, and Kings. My forte is solving problems, big problems, like we have in Wilkes-Barre. In my business career, I solved problems across the U.S. at Sterling Bank in New York, Raymond Corporation in Endicott, Hardin Furniture, McConnellsville, New York, Circus in Las Vegas, Keystone A&A Auto in Exeter, Penn Millers, Wilkes-Barre, Glassman High Voltage, New Jersey, Lackawanna Casualty, Dillon Floral in Bloomsburg, and many other companies. I'm a problem solver. I've written 60 books. Number 58, some of you may know, is Wilkes-Barre, PA, Return to Glory. I'm serious about turning our city around for keeps. For 6 years, I served in the military police, yet neither the ex-police chief nor I are modern crime experts. We need real experts to make our city safe again. We cannot survive on legends. My priorities are safe city, affordable city, clean city. My first act as mayor is to hire a police commissioner. The next is to create a violent crime unit, hire a top quality expert supervisor. Only best police officers will be evaluated.
I apologize for mentioning too, in the front row. We have 30 seconds left, so hold up the yellow sign. How your time is up there? Apologize for correcting beforehand. Directly in front of our podium. So next is Mr. George Brown.
Thank you. Can you hear me in the back? Can you hear me okay? I'd like to introduce myself. My name is George Brown. Born and raised in the city of Wilkes-Barre. My wife, Mary Ann Miller Brown, and myself were married 42 years, raised 3 wonderful children in this city. I've worked in business for the last 38 years and recently retired in November. I earned a bachelor's degree from King's College in Human Resource Management, and I also earned a master's degree from McGroarty University, Organizational Management. I was lucky enough to be elected to City Council in 2011, and I've served for the last 3+ years on City Council. During my time on council, I have voted for many projects and resolutions and initiatives that have helped out the city of Wilkes-Barre, contrary to what Mr. Kelly has stated. I've worked on flood insurance initiatives. I have met with the Army Corps of Engineers in Baltimore, Maryland, seeking funds for flood protection for the city of Wilkes-Barre. I have put through a resolution to help with the in adverse of the Bigot Waters Flood Insurance Act, which, by the way, was passed by City Council. I have the experience to run the city of Wilkes-Barre. I'm the only candidate here tonight that has experience in the public and private sector. I will run the city of Wilkes-Barre like a business with a $42 million budget and 300 employees. I will look at every line item on the budget, and I will make sure that this city is run like a business where the people in this room tonight, the taxpayers, the taxes you're paying to the city will be utilized in the most efficient manner possible. I will address crime. I will make initiatives that we will look at providing additional resources to our police department. I will look at addressing blighted properties. And I'm sorry, I can't see the card, so I'll stand over this way. But I will address blighted properties. I will address nuisance item properties. I've been addressing nuisance properties for the last 3.5 years. I've been addressing blighted properties. Some of the people here tonight can attest to the fact that I've helped to clean up your neighborhoods. This is something I'm going to continue to do. As your mayor, I will hold town hall meetings in all 5 districts of the city of Wilkes-Barre, where you can come to me and my staff, meaning the police chief, the fire chief, and other people, and we will hear your issues in your neighborhoods. This is what I'm going to do as your next mayor. And I need your support on May 19th and your vote to make me the next mayor of the city of Wilkes-Barre. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And our next is Mr. Tony George.
Good evening. And again, I'd like to thank the DRA for inviting us here to speak to the public. I'm Tony George, and I want to be the mayor of Wilkes-Barre. My concern for Wilkes-Barre drives me to get involved. Simply put, Wilkes-Barre can do better. Wilkes-Barre must do better. And let's be clear about one thing. As mayor, I will bring a no-nonsense, law and order approach to Wilkes-Barre City government. As a beat cop at the beginning of my career, I worked directly with the residents of the city to keep the streets safe. I was honored to serve as captain and as chief of police. I worked with the youth of this area as the school resource officer at the Wilkes-Barre Area Career and Technical Center. I see what challenges the kids face today and work closely with them and their families to make sure they become productive members of society. My law enforcement experience guides me to make sure citizens are able to walk their neighborhoods without fear. All of these past experiences led me to run for city council of Wilkes-Barre 4 years ago. It is not enough for me to sit back and watch the city be less than what it can be. It's City Hall's obligation to maintain law and order, create a safe environment for all citizens, and foster a secure environment to create new jobs and opportunities for people who want to keep the city as their home. Like you, I can see the city today is at risk. Lawlessness, blight, and fear grip this once great city. And we are going to change that, starting on day one. I run for mayor because every single day I hear from residents who want new leadership. I run for mayor to restore integrity, trust, and security. I run for mayor to reestablish a transparent government in City Hall. Together we will hire public servants to reflect the diversity of the city we serve. Together we will restore honor and efficiency at City Hall. Together we will restore communications between city government and its residents. We will restore communications with citizen groups, crime watch organizations, and the guardian angels, rather than ignore them. We need to be in touch with what issues residents face. As mayor, I will work with each department in the city to reallocate resources to make sure we are running as efficiently and productively as possible. Tonight, I ask you to join me in this challenge to restore law and order. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Ms. Darlene Duggins-Magdalinski.
Is that better? First, I want to thank the DRA for allowing me to be here as well as the other candidates so that we can have this forum. I'm really excited and glad that we were able to have this forum because we were not able to talk about our concerns initially. First, I want to say that I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I relocated here to Wilkes-Barre in 2004. When I moved here, I actually hit the ground running. I formed an organization called the United We Stand, Divided We Fall, which raised awareness on the dangers of drugs and alcohol. It all started from the McGlynn Center, Sister Miriam Stavros, when her center was in jeopardy of closing. So from that day forward, in 2005, up until current, I've been raising awareness. So I've always been active in the community. I am not a self-described, but I am a community activist that was named by the community, by the media. Some issues that I would like, that I believe as a candidate for Wilkes-Barre City Mayor, I'm just going to get to the point that I feel need to be addressed in order for us to grow as a community. I think we need to address integrity, safety, and redevelopment. It's important to me as your mayor that I demonstrate accountability and be approachable, reachable, and transparent. My goals are for every resident to feel safe and secure again and not feel threatened by the surroundings that they live in. Also, I would apply for warranted grant money that will help us to build a restored, safe, and structured community. I have a desire to see a much healthier and unified community at large. I will do my best to cultivate a redeveloped city as a community effort. This will allow us to move in a positive and productive direction, something I feel is way overdue. Crime and gangs. This is one of the most important issues I will tackle. High crime rates connected to the distribution of drugs, substance use and abuse, gun violence, and gang activities. I will enforce anti-drug and gang laws and implement more police and gang task force visibility from a local, state, and federal level. I will have more police on foot patrol and bike coupled with more effective officer training. I would form a cost-effective yet beneficial Crime Stoppers unit and create enriching police program that would involve the police, youth, and the community so that the residents can renew their trust that is desirable in our police officers. Recreational and family activities. I will make an effort to attract and to oppose more family-oriented businesses in the city, and I would encourage existing organizations as your mayor to offer more affordable adolescent recreation activities. To summarize, tennis association and alliance and community assistance, tennis associations and alliance community association. Neglected properties I will deal with, citywide spring cleanup, and bulk item pickup I will deal with. I'm going to step forward from here. I have a double major in social science and human services, graduated with high honors from LCC.
Thank you. And our last candidate is Mr. Frank Sorick.
My name is Frank Sorick, and I'm the Republican candidate for mayor. I stand here before you tonight not as a politician. I'm an average citizen. I'm not born and raised in Wilkes-Barre, so please forgive me. I was born in a small town, Falls, Pennsylvania, a few miles into Wyoming County. I came down here to Wilkes-Barre for the dream of home ownership. When my wife and I started out, we started very young. We decided that we wanted to purchase a home, and the only two places available to us within a decent drive to my employer in music at the time was either Wilkes-Barre or Scranton. Ultimately, we decided on Wilkes-Barre because it was a much smaller, safer city. Boy, was I in for a shock, right? Like many of you, the current administration did absolutely nothing when they were warned that crime was happening. And I run for mayor now out of pure frustration. I'm frustrated that anytime we've looked into anything, it seems like we've hit a brick wall. It doesn't matter what you touch in the city of Wilkes-Barre, whether it be contract negotiations, whether it be a police report you're looking for. The answer is no, and quite frankly, I'm tired of being told no. Under my administration, you literally ask for anything, you're going to have it. I'm going to work very hard to make sure all city financials, all city accounts are available to you at the click of a mouse on the city's website. No longer seeking right-to-knows for this or that. Everything should be available. We live in the information age where everything should be available at the click of a mouse from your home at 2 in the morning. You shouldn't have to wait 5, 7, 10, 30 days for a right to know, appeal it to the state, file county lawsuit after lawsuit, taking the city to court to find out that either A, the documents were hidden, destroyed, lost, eaten by whoever. I have no idea. At any rate, again, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated at the current administration. I speak often at council, begging council to do what they can. Council is very limited. Anyone here tonight who wants to point a finger at the two councilmen sitting behind me and say they could have, should have, would have, council can approve ordinances or approve funding. That's basically it. Council has very limited powers. We have a strong mayoral form of government, and as such, we elect a mayor and expect that that mayor will do what needs to be done to protect the city. Government's first responsibility, protection of its citizens. I feel this government has failed you. I will not. Thank you.
Well, first, DRA would like to thank all the candidates for their opening. Next, we start our questions, and we have 10 of them. There was a team of 6 people that formed the committee. We narrowed the questions down from several that we received from our membership, and these were the 10 questions that the committee agreed to. This evening, there are 4 members of that committee that are here in the audience to walk me through these 10 questions. If any candidate would like me to repeat the question, I would be happy to do so as we move along. I will state the question once and ask each member to address it for a 2-minute session. Question number 1. The State Auditor General recently released a report on the status of Pennsylvania's municipal pension funds. The City of Wilkes-Barre ranked in the top 11 for the largest dollar amount of unfunded pension liability, putting retirement commitments at risk. Wilkes-Barre's unfunded amount is $31,131,000. As mayor, how would you address this issue?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. The way I would address it is I would want to see all the facts. And I regret to say that in that short question, all of the facts weren't given to me. Now, is the question that we should renege on pensions? Is the question that we should overtax taxpayers to pay for whatever the theoretical unfunded liabilities are? I would need to know, I'd like to see the whole report, not just a small portion of the report, in order to offer valid and substantive comments on the report. I think that we have long given public employees extremely generous pensions, none of which, or many of us, do not have the luxury of having such pensions. Yet at the same time, these employees were promised those pensions. So I have mixed emotions personally as to how to deal with it. I don't think that the taxpayers should be held responsible for whatever it was that the unions and the employees worked out. At the same time, they worked it out. So I'm not sure where we go with this, but if there were a solution, you could bet that it would be in front of us all, and we would have it, and we would be asking ourselves whether we like that solution or not. Thank you.
Let's talk about the pension funds. Let's talk about where we're at as far as the city with the pension funds. First of all, the prior administration, Mr. McGroarty, borrowed $40 million to meet the actuary for our pension funds that were underfunded. Even after that $40 million was borrowed, there were still several minimum obligation payments that were not made. That's where we got into trouble, folks. We can make these minimum payments by effective budgetary practices. What I'm going to do, and I have experience from business, I'm going to look at every line item in our budget. I'm going to look at how we can ensure that these minimum payments are made. And I promise you, as your mayor, I will never, ever not make the minimum payments that are due. The pensions are underfunded, that's true, but they can be made, and the payments can be made by the proper budgetary practices that we can put in place. I'm the person that can do that. I have that experience. I have that knowledge. I have that skill for being in business for 38 years. I worked for several large companies in that 38 years. RCA, General Electric, Thompson Multimedia. I've dealt with budgets. I've dealt with personnel. I'm going to look at every line item, including personnel items, including where there may be some monies that we could take and take those monies and resources, allocate them to other things besides the pension fund payments. I'm going to allocate them towards police. I'm going to allocate them towards other property, blighted properties and other programs that we could put together to help the city. The pension funds are underfunded, I agree with you, but the minimum payments can be made, and we can continue to make those payments under sound fiscal budgetary guidelines that I will put into place as your next mayor.
I agree with both Mr. Brown and Mr. Kelly. The pensions are a problem, but I'm not going to profess to be a financial genius that I can wipe away that debt overnight or even over a year. That's going to take some financial wizards. And I plan to hire the best and the brightest of the city We have Kings and Wilkes, both great schools who have finance programs. Bring these kids in. Their new techniques might be the solution to what our problems are. There's no way we can solve that on our own. And I have a hand for Mr. Leighton. He actually did change some of the pension laws that decreased the number of pensions for the future employees, which is a step in the right direction. But again, it's going to take time to reduce that debt. And no one person can do that by himself. We need the help from financial institutions. And that's what I propose on doing. Thank you.
I have to agree with all the gentlemen that, this is a serious issue that we have here. I remember reading about it, and actually I remember when a question was asked of Kim Bracy, who was one of our neighboring cities, who was actually have the same demographics that we have. And she talked about the struggles of of the pensions. And I think what we can also consider doing is, I do think that was a great idea, George, of what you said, is looking at other counties and bringing them in. I think we all have great ideas, but also how about we look at other neighboring cities and see what they're doing to see how they're dealing with these pensions. But just being honest, I do have over 18 years of management as well as bookkeeping experience, working with bylaws, working with large corporations as well. So I do feel like I have that experience, but again, we're going to need more experience to bring people in here to help us to get where we need to be at. So I'm going to just be fair and say that I think we all have great ideas.
The pension problem is not unique to Wilkes-Barre. It's something that faces just about every community. However, what is rather unique to Wilkes-Barre is that we have more people drawing on pensions than we have people paying into the pension. That creates a negative deficit right away. What I would look to do as your next mayor is eliminate eligibility for certain people who are in the pensions. Elected officials are elected officials. They are not paid employees of the city, and they should be treated as elected officials and not paid employees of the city. I don't believe that any elected official should be able to draw on the pension system once they retire. They're elected, they receive their salary while they're elected, and they should take nothing else from you. So eliminating a part-time council, and this council has already opted out of the pension. I commend this council for their action. But it wasn't until the citizens demanded that they do it that they did opt out of it. They've also requested state law be changed so that that cannot happen. And again, I commend this council for that. However, I don't believe that any council member turned city controller should be entitled to a full-time pension when that person retires after serving the majority of their time as a part-time council person. I think that's wrong, and I think it's a smack in the face to every hardworking city employee. Thank you.
Question number 2. As mayor, what would you do to create a stable, attractive neighborhoods that can successfully retain and attract wage-earning residents and households? Please provide a specific example of how you would do so.
Wage-earning residents and households would become wage-earning residents and households by having jobs. And Wilkes-Barre is not the best place today to get a job. What is the problem in Wilkes-Barre? Well, I have a campaign that has 3 prongs: safe city, affordable city, and a clean city. Now today, we do okay on some of those, but quite frankly, I thought a good part of what tonight was going to be about, and a couple extra lines in my speech, had to do with crime, had to do with excessive violent crime. And I'm not suggesting that I was cheated because I knew we had 3 minutes. Okay. So what do we have? we have a city that nobody is going to build any kind of business in as long as we have this crime problem. You know that, and I know that. And so what is our number one problem? Our number one problem is drug crime, gang crime, and what's our solution? Our solution is that we tackle it by creating a police commissioner and a violent crime unit that will do nothing but attack this crime, and then we can solve the problem and get on with jobs and the other kind of things that we need to make Wilkes-Barre successful again.
Would you mind repeating the question, because I'm not exactly sure what the question is. Happy to do so.
The question is, as mayor, what would you do to create a stable, attractive neighborhoods that can successfully retain and attract wage-earning residents and households? Please provide a specific example of how you would do this.
Thank you, I appreciate you doing that. When we talk about our neighborhoods, naturally, crime is the number one issue everybody up here is going to address as mayor. No matter who you elect, we're going to fight crime. We have different visions how we're going to do that. My vision is different from some of the other people up here today. We have to remember, the neighborhoods and the people that are here tonight, the hard-working families that work hard and keep their houses up and their neighborhoods clean, they're the people that are the lifeblood of this city. They're what's keeping this city going. And a way to promote more families coming in is to address blighted properties. After you've addressed the crime issue, blighted properties, absentee landlords. We have to look at the quality of life issues that we have out there. Take a very hard stance on these quality of life issues. As your mayor, one of the things I'm going to introduce, police officers that will be assigned in specific areas of the city. They will get to know who lives in the neighborhoods. The people will get to trust them. We started a practice this year at Public Square. We have Officer Merkel there, and that has been a home run. So I compliment the mayor, police chief for doing that. People talk to this officer, they trust him. I want to continue that, but in your neighborhoods. When you talk about neighborhoods, we also have to talk about the downtown residents. That is a neighborhood, even though it is located in the business district. We have to provide a safe area for our people to live, and my number one concern as your mayor is the safety and security of our residents and the people that live in the city of Wilkes-Barre. Thank you.
Again, I have to agree with Mr. Brown and Mr. Kelly. Our number one concern is jobs and safety. My program of law and order is just that. You're not going to have any economic development if people are afraid to bring their business into the city. And right now, we're the last of their thoughts. When you think of Wilkes-Barre, you think we got to get out of there. You have to bring back, you have to reduce the crime, which is what I've been a police officer for 25 years, and now 10 years up to Voc Tech. What you have to do is saturate an area, have a park and walk program, and have the neighborhood impact team. First of all, we have to eliminate the problem right now. Right now, everybody has a foothold in the city. What we have to do is break that foothold. Instead of doing a surveillance and a controlled buys for 6 months, 9 months, or a year, you have to knock at the people's doors and tell them we suspect suspicious activities at this residence. We're going to knock this time. The next time we return, we're going to get a ram and knock down the door and take you off. This way, they're not going to stay in that area. They know they're being watched, and they know we're going to do something about it. They're going to leave. Where they leave, you follow them and you take them out. But that's going to take time. It's going to take a good year to clean up this city. And then we can start worrying about economic development. because people would want to come back to the city. Right now, if you have a child, my wife won't let our grandkids out of the house because she's afraid something's going to happen to them. And Willow Street is a prime example. And first, we have to get control of crime, and I'm the person that can do that, and then the economic development would follow. Thank you.
Again, I guess we all agree with the crime issue. Crime. We have a serious issue with the crime. And I agree that we're not going to grow, but not only do we have to tackle the crime, we have to be able to know how to identify the crime. And I feel that being that I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, that I'm able to identify it because I lived it, I breathed it, and I understand it. I have the academic background. I'm a social science major. I'm a social science major as well as a human service major, behavior science with a minor in psychology and a certification in addictions counseling. I understand it. If we want our economy to grow, I do agree that we have to deal with the root problem, not just address the crime, but why they're committing the crime. No one is talking about the root problem, the substance use and abuse, the petty crimes. No one is really talking about the gangs. We have a gang war going on at Sherman Hills. We need to address that. And how we do it is, let's start setting examples out of some of these career criminals. And I'm the one to get the job done. Believe me. We have to set them as examples. I'm telling you from personal experience because, again, I know. Again, I do believe, what they're saying is great ideas. But the ultimate goal is once we get to the root problem, which is a lot of the underlying behavioral issues, then we can get this city to grow. Because the crime is deterring, and I do believe that it will deter, prospects to even consider to even bring any type of business here. I mean, I wouldn't do it. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to what I said when I first came up here, and that is when I first moved to Wilkes-Barre, the reason that I chose to move to Wilkes-Barre was that it was a smaller, safer city. And that's what we need to aim to get back to. Every candidate up here is saying the same thing, that until we solve the crime problem, we're not going to get people wanting to move back to the city and wanting to raise their families here. Right now, people from outside of Wilkes-Barre are looking down on us and saying, I don't know how those people are still there. And quite frankly, I mean, I have to agree with them, but most of us are still here because we believe in our friends, our families, our neighborhoods, and we believe that Wilkes-Barre can be great again. And every candidate up here has a plan to solve and combat the crime. But until we actually do that, we're not going to get businesses to want to invest here and bring quality of life jobs to the valley. And it's not just Wilkes-Barre that we should be looking at. We should also be looking at the valley as a whole and the neighboring communities. Again, when I moved to Wilkes-Barre, I worked in music, and I was deciding between Scranton or Wilkes-Barre. And a lot of people are looking at that now. And when I was looking to purchase a home, I went out with my real estate agent, looked at both cities. I was scared to death looking in the hill section of Scranton. Not so scary today. I live in South Wilkes-Barre. And believe me, South Wilkes-Barre is a scary place today. And we need to make it so that Wilkes-Barre is not such a scary place. And I look back to 2001 when I moved here, you would be hard-pressed to find a blighted home in the city of Wilkes-Barre. Today, they're on every block. We need to end that.
Excuse me. I'd like to make a suggestion on the format that you're using. On every question, Mr. Kelly goes first.
Yes, we're about to
You
change.
should rotate that to give everybody.
Thank you for your suggestion. As the member suggested, what we're going to do now is we're going to start the second gentleman all the way down, and Mr. Kelly will answer the question number 3 last. As the region's central city, Wilkes-Barre hosts many tax-exempt, social service, educational, governmental, and religious institutions, which serve the entire region, yet the city bears the entire burden of hosting and providing services to those institutions. As mayor, what would you do to address this issue?
There is a misconception by many residents about some of the, what we call not-for-profit schools and churches and so forth. These schools do pay what we call a pilot tax. And that is a tax that is agreed upon by the city and the particular school or university. They do pay for services that are rendered to them as far as the police, the fire, and other, the DPW and those people. So first of all, let me make that statement out there that they do pay a pilot fee for being in the city and taking the services. What we can do in a new administration, we can sit down and work with these schools, and we can see if there's an ability there to possibly change the amount of pilot taxes that they're paying. The churches are a different situation. We don't have the ability in that situation, but the schools we do. And I would be glad to sit down with these schools in the area that are paying the pilot taxes and hopefully look at renegotiating possibly a higher pilot tax that they could pay. Thank you.
Again, I have to agree with Mr. Brown. The pilot program is a payment in lieu of taxes. Kings and Wilkes both pay a pilot tax or their pilot share. However, I don't believe it was changed since they've been buying up all the property downtown. I mean, Kings owns everything from North Street to Public Square. On Franklin, North River, and North Main, and River Street. They're a great asset to the city. In the last 10 years, Kings and Wilkes are the only development we had in the city. And they did a great job on North Main Street. Wilkes did a great job in South Wilkes-Barre on South Street. However, I think it's time we have to, like Mr. Brown said, sit down and talk to the deans of both schools and see how much they can actually give to the school. Maybe they can put a surcharge on students to bring some more money in for the city. Because the city's in a financial crisis. And we need all the tax money we can get, and we can't put the burden on the taxpayers, because I think it's 48% of the people are the tax people in the city. So my suggestion is, like Mr. Brown's, sit down and meet with both colleges and try to get more money out of them. Thank you.
I want to say that I'm honestly not really familiar with the pilot taxes. I just heard it recently, actually yesterday, and I would like to do some more research about it, so I have to be honest with you guys that I'm not real familiar with that. But anything that we can do, it sounds like it's a great idea with what they're suggesting, with speaking with the different schools. That's something maybe we can consider. So I need to be open and honest about that, that I'm not real familiar with the pilot tax. Thank you.
Like the two councilmen who came before, I agree that we should sit down and ask for more. But let me ask you this, if you were a nonprofit business, whatever, and I came to you as your mayor, and I said, listen, Wilkes, Kings, we're broke, we need your help. Can you open your checkbook a little wider? How successful do you think I'm going to be? Mayor Leighton couldn't do it. The mayors before Mayor Leighton couldn't do it. I don't think I can do it. I would petition Harrisburg to change the laws. You pay taxes, I pay taxes, they should pay taxes. I agree that nonprofits are a valuable asset to the community, but I don't agree that they should get away with purchasing a multi-million-dollar hotel and eliminating taxes and paying only 0.1% on what that hotel was paying. I'm sorry, I disagree with that. Thank you.
You don't know how pleased I am to say that I agree and I disagree. I think that there's always been something missing here in all these little things that we find out about by reading about them in the paper. Like the idea of planning. And we know that we have two major institutions, King's and Wilkes. Do you have any other? Oh, and we also have Worcester County Community College, which I keep wanting to go in and buy something from the racks of Pomeroy's. That's such a good place. But we need to plan. We need to have known, and we need to know every time one of these, shall I say, academic institutions has their checkbook out ready to buy something. Like, for example, the nicest hotel on Public Square. Did we need that as a populace? Did we need Kings to be on Public Square? I don't think so. I think we need to know what we will allow and what we won't allow before they come to us at a time when we do have the power to say, no, you can't buy that, or no, if you buy that, you'll be taxed 100%. And I think that would help us by doing pre-planning as opposed to post-reaction. And here we are. We are giving up a lot of our tax base. I'm happy for the colleges being here, the institutions being here. You are too, to some extent, I'm sure, because they do produce for all of us, especially the businesses. But they don't produce necessarily enough to make up for the loss of taxes. So we need to do planning up front so we know what impact it's going to be before they come to us and they say, we'd like to take the Iron Temple, if we may, or we'd like to take this, or we'd like to take that, or we'd like to take that.
Question number 4. Crime is currently a dominating topic in Wilkes-Barre. What do you think should be the first priority of the new mayor when it comes to reducing crime in the city?
Easy, stop it. But first, we have to get a grip on the crime. It's so widespread now, you have to target each individual area one step at a time. We're not going to blanket the whole city at one time. You have to start in the worst section, which right now probably would be either Sherman Hills or now South Wilkes-Barre. And you have to do a saturation patrol and keep it going. You need a joint effort with the state police, the FBI, the DEA, Luzerne County Sheriff's Department, Luzerne County Probation, and the U.S. Marshals. And then you do one blanket saturation patrol. We had an incident in Sherman Hills under my watch where we set up a temporary headquarters in Cole Street, and we attacked Sherman Hills for 3 days. There was vehicles from state police, the marshals, the Luzerne County Probation, the Sheriff's Department, and the Wilkes-Barre Police Department. We confiscated AK-47s and numerous numbers of weapons, and we did that for 3 days. And we checked everybody going in and everybody going out. And after a while, the crime stopped. But you have to keep that up. And we did that through grant money, through the PCCD grant money. We used seatbelt grant money. We used DUI grant money. And that was done. We have to do that throughout the whole city and let them know that we mean business. If we don't let them know we mean business, they're going to keep carrying on their business, and that's what we have to stop. They're in there to make money. They don't want to be arrested. So you make it hard on them, they'll move someplace where it's easy. And that's what they're doing now. They're moving to Wilkes-Barre because it's easy. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to say to what I said with, I think we need to address the underlying issues with the crime, and that's substance use. That's substance use and abuse. We have to address that. One of the main issues that I've had, and I've been addressing, and I actually went to council last year in October, is we need to make Sherman Hills, first of all, accountable. They are not being accountable for what's going on over there. They need cameras, they need armed guards over there. I know how they think. I'm a community activist who is very active in this community, and a lot of the drug dealers and some of the people that are committing these crimes, or that know the people that's committing the crime, you know what their mentality is? Wilkes-Barre don't care. They'll let us do it. They're not going to do anything. They shouldn't be bold to say that. We need to change that way of thinking. You know, what are we going to do? We need to work together as a community effort. And people shouldn't have to be able to be afraid to speak with the administration or speak with the police officers. And they are, as a result of what just happened with the gentleman on Willow Street. This is why people are not speaking. This is not why they're not coming out. We have to address the underlying problem. I know what it is. There's nothing to do in the community. So people have too much idle time. They're getting to deviant and depraved behaviors. We have to get a hold of it. I know this. I know this from listening to testimonies. We have to tackle the crime. If we don't tackle the crime and give these people something to do in the community, the crime is going to continue on. And saturation, for the record, we can saturate it. What they're going to do is they're going to go doormat, and once you sit there for about, your week or two, they're going to come back out, because that's how they think. Thank you.
So far, I don't disagree with what any candidate has said so far. We do need to do more saturation patrols. We do need to have more boots on the ground. All of that costs money. And again, it's easy for all of us to stand up here and blame the current administration for not doing enough, but we're not in Mayor Leighton's shoes right now, so therefore we don't know what challenges that he truly is facing day to day. That being said, I would look to put more police officers on the streets, have more visible presence out there, and if that means eliminating some of the assistance jobs at City Hall that in my opinion just aren't needed, like a city spokesperson, I would do that, and I would divert that money to the police force. And again, if that's just one more police officer on the street, that's one more visible presence out there. And we've all caught ourselves speeding down the interstate at some point in time and saw that police cruiser sitting off in the distance in the medium, and our foot immediately comes off the accelerator and our heart drops. That's because we knew we were doing wrong. These people who know they're doing wrong in our city see the same thing when they see our police force out there. And God bless the Wilkes-Barre PD. They have their hands full. Thank you.
Yes, we do need more police, but more than that, we need to change the structure of our police department. Now, what do I mean by that? I alluded to before that what we need is a police commissioner, somebody to whom the fire, police, EMS, city workers work for. And so let's say we have, as unlikely as it is, a nuclear emergency or any kind of emergency. What do we do? Well, this person would be able to marshal fire trucks, city trucks, put blockades in place, but under the current structure, we don't have that ability. Additionally, I'm talking about bringing in a violent crime unit, okay? And we hire a top quality expert supervisor. I don't know that we have such a person, but we'll hire him. Only our best police officers will be evaluated and selected for the violent crime unit. Can you believe we don't have a violent crime unit? Can you believe that? That we don't have that? If we need it, we'll hire officers from the outside. We'll do what we need to do. It's my understanding Mayor Leighton has 10 officers in next year's budget. If I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. This unit will fight only violent crime. They won't take domestic abuse or minor burglary or traffic violation calls. The mission will be restricted to fighting organized gang, drug crime, and the homicides that result, such as Willow Street, which really raises the mark for Wilkes-Barre. Violent crime is our biggest problem. We all know that. What happens when the bad guys stop killing each other? And have they stopped killing each other? I'll get through the rest of this next time.
First of all, in addressing crime, I want you folks to know that we do have a task force that was put together. It's called the Safe Street Task Force. It's put together by our current district attorney. It involves federal agents, involves state police, involves county officers, and our city police officers. This is a task force that was put together, and the reason that these people are put together is to fight gangs, drugs, violent crimes in our neighborhoods. And I'm proud to say, these folks are doing the job. They put that uniform on every day, or they go undercover, and they fight crime. We have to continue to get the funding to keep this task force going. We have to continue to look at funding to improve our current police department. How do we do that? Well, naturally, everybody is going to look for grants. After the grants are not available, what I will do as your mayor, I will take, as I said in previous conversations, I will look at our budgets. I will look at where are the resources I can take from certain categories that are not necessary, put those monies towards increasing our police presence, put those monies towards training and resources our men and women in the police force need to combat crime. This is also can be addressed through other initiatives. As I stated before, I called attention to a neighborhood district patrol program. This is a program where we will identify neighborhoods that police officers will be assigned to. Get to know the neighborhoods, get to know the high crime areas, get to know who's in those high crime areas. We will have a zero tolerance for quality of life crimes. We will make the streets clean. We will not put up with prostitutions and graffiti and other things that are going to brighten up our neighborhoods. I've said before, I'm going to ask for help from either the state police or other areas. We'll stop with that.
Question number 5. How would you rate the accomplishments of the Wilkes-Barre City administrations respectfully led by Mayor Leighton, Mayor McGroarty, and Mayor Namey?
I came here in 2004, and I believe that's when Mayor Leighton came into office. So I don't know much about Namey. I heard a little bit, and I don't know much about, as his name is pronounced, McGroarty. And I have to admit that as far as when it comes to Mayor Leighton has helped me above and beyond when it came to my drug-free block party and helped me with my cleanups. I've been getting drug-free cleanups for almost 11 years on South Wells Street. And he have no charge. They supply bags. They help me. The cleanups, as far as the block parties on Public Square, the DA, all of them helped me. So Mayor Leighton, do I think that he could have done more? Yes. But do I think at the same time that, I'm going to just say this, I think Mayor Leighton did the best that he knew how. That's what I believe. That's all I have to say.
Again, I apologize, I wasn't born and raised in Wilkes-Barre, so I've only known 2 mayors in my short time here. The first, Mayor McGroarty, seeking re-election in one of the districts, and I don't think that councilman is here today, But one question he was asking neighbors, and a neighbor actually called me and said, can you believe the audacity? He said, is your neighborhood safer today than it was 12 years ago? Oh my God, really? Have you been paying attention to the amount of murders in Wilkes-Barre under this current administration? And again, we can't throw it all at this administration and say it is his fault. However, it does seem Wilkes-Barre is a little more welcoming to violent crimes than they were in previous administrations. At least that's what I've read in the newspapers. Again, not a lifelong resident of the city. So in that respect, that's as much as I can say. The previous administration, again, I wasn't here for his tenure. I was only here for 2 short years of it, and it seemed to go pretty well. There was a mayor's helpline. If you had a problem, you called Beatrice, God bless her. She got it done, and we need to get a mayor's helpline again.
I think that all the mayors, did whatever they could. I also believe that, as the gentleman said, that over time, this city has gotten worse. So regardless of what anybody did, this city has gotten worse. And as I have said before, violent crime, again, is our biggest problem. Our city was unprepared. It is still unprepared. To the bad guys, we are in fact like babes in the woods. They love coming to Wilkes-Barre. I heard multiple people say that. They love coming here. And the same old is not going to cut it. We have to crush the gang, drug, thug problem to bits. We have to stomp it down. Even our police force, we really have to re-professionalize our police force. No more pleading the fraud, no more officers being the bad guys. Police must get out of their comfort zones so that the people can be comfortable living in Wilkes-Barre again. We have no choice but to outsmart the bad guys, take them down, lock them up for good, and chase them out of town. When they're no longer comfortable conducting their nasty business, these gangsters will leave Wilkes-Barre as quickly as they found us. And that, ladies and gentlemen, when that day comes, that will be the end of violent crime in Wilkes-Barre. And I hope to be your mayor during that period. Thank you.
When we talk about mayors, let's talk about facts. Mayor Namey was a mentor to me. He was someone that helped me. He was someone I could go to and talk to when I told him I had aspirations of running for city council. I met with ex-Mayor Namey and I asked his opinion and I asked his guidance. And he told me, yes, pursue it, George. And he helped me to do that, and I will be forever grateful to Mr. Namey. Mr. McGroarty, when he was mayor, we had several issues. We had several issues that were carried over to the next administration. When I talk about the next administration, I'm saying Mayor Leighton's administration. People categorize me as that I always agree with Mayor Leighton, and that is not true. We have not agreed on everything. When I look at a council session and something comes before me, I evaluate what's best for the city and for the residents and the people that work and live in this city. That's how I make my decision as a councilman, okay? If I agree with what Mr. Leighton proposes and people don't agree with that, they take it as a negative fact. I'm sorry, I do what I think is best for this city. When Mr. Leighton took over, we had $10 million of bills that were due. We did not have the money to pay. That's something that was inherited from the prior administration. People forget that, but it can't be forgotten. We now have a credit rating, which we did not have when it was Mr. Leighton took over. We have an A- credit. We can borrow. We can refinance. We just refinanced $30 million of loans that were taken out under the McGroarty administration, and we're saving $1.8 million by rewriting that loan. for a different rate. That's my analysis of the three mayors. Thank you.
I actually had the opportunity to work under four mayors: Mayor Lisbon, Mayor Namey, Mayor McLaughlin, and Mayor McGroarty. And I've taken the best from each one of their administrations. They all had their good parts. They all had their failures. But when Mr. Brown talked about Mr. McGroarty being $10 million worth of bills left in his administration, when he left, the city's financial debt was $60 million. Today it's $120 million. So there's $60 million in the last 12 years that doubled what took 110 years to do. And I'm not pointing fingers at Mayor Leighton. He promised to restore downtown. He did restore downtown. Mayor McGroarty's main focus was the neighborhoods. You had street cleaning. You had hand street cleaning. We had a NIT team where we went down and condemned buildings and then knocked them down. I mean, every mayor has their own faults and their own pluses. But, you know, I'm not going to say anything else about the Mayor Leighton's administration because I didn't work for him. But I can tell you, Mayor McGroarty's heart and soul was in the neighborhoods, and they're forgotten now. Thank you.
Okay, question number 6. We know that government has limited spending capacity. Are there certain city departments in which you envision investing more resources? Are there agencies where you envision spending fewer resources?
I've made it no secret what departments I would slash and what departments I would staff up. The Wilkes-Barre Police Department, our EMS units, and our DPW, in my opinion, are understaffed. Not saying that Mayor Leighton cut those departments. I'm saying they're currently understaffed for the needs of this city. City Hall is overstaffed for the needs of this city. I would slash there, definitely. Assistants to the assistants need to go. A mayor spokesperson needs to go. As your mayor, I can speak for myself. Thank you.
We have a 260 people, 260? 260 employees at City Hall. Wilkes-Barre has somewhere above 40,000 people. We have a budget of a little over 40,000. We have, I'm sorry, 40 million. Those 40s kind of. $40 million budget. If everybody made $100,000 a year, how much would it be? Figure it out. There's a 2.5 times difference between the workers in City Hall, I'm talking about everybody, and the average Joe on the streets of Wilkes-Barre. Now, I recall that about 2 or 3 years ago, the mayor proposed a 31% budget, 31% increase in the budget to be funded by property tax. And that ultimately came down to 26%. Okay? And then in the last couple of years, I noticed while people on Social Security were getting 1.7% increases in their annual monthly payment, that the City of Wilkes-Barre employees received 3%. Now, 3% isn't an awful lot, but boy, you know what? It's almost twice what Social Security recipients who pay those salaries receive. So I think we can do a lot. I have an MBA in accounting and finance. I am a numbers guy, I'm a computer guy, and I can help with the numbers, but you don't see them all in the published budget. But I'd be glad to take a crack at it and make it right.
People have to understand that we have 4 unions that represent the employees of the City of Wilkes-Barre. We have collective bargaining agreements between the unions and the City of Wilkes-Barre. My background is in human resources. I have a bachelor's degree in human resources and a master's degree in organizational management with a specialization in human resources. What I would do as your mayor, I would look at all of the job descriptions and all of the tasks that are done by our city employees. I would be very much aware of what every single employee is supposed to be doing and what their jobs entail. That's my specialty. That's what I've done for several years in business. So I'm telling you that I will look at making sure that people are doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. I will make sure that I work with the unions. People talk about 3% raises. They are part of contracts that have been negotiated with the unions. They're not something you can just take away. You can't do away with the contract or collective bargaining agreement. They have to be negotiated. Let's be realistic here. We have some options here. We have some ways to look at how we can save money. Something we have to work through. Hard work, making sure that we know what our people are doing, and we have good people working for the city. We have to make sure that the jobs are done properly, that I will do that as the next mayor. I will make sure that I use my experience I've gained over the last 38 years and through my education to make sure that we are utilizing our resources and the tax dollars that you pay, that you're getting a good return on those taxes. Thank you.
Again, I have to agree with Mr. Brown. I've been through negotiations and arbitrations with the police department because that was part of my function as chief. And we could say we want to give a 0% raise, take off holidays, take sick days off, but it's up to the arbitrator. They get their chance, we get our chance to say our section, and if the arbitrator agrees with them, we have to abide by their ruling. And that goes to the same for the fire department. It's all done strictly by arbitration. And I know Mayor Leighton, after the arbitration, negotiated for some savings, and I commend him for that. But again, when one union gets 3%, you have the City Hall Union 1301 and the 403 Teamsters. They want the same salary, and you can't blame them if somebody else in the same department, same city is getting a bigger raise. So what we have to do is, like Mr. Brown said, we have to go through the budget line by line and see what things can be cut and see what positions can be cut, if there any can be cut. I know the street department's bare minimum now. There's no way you can cut anything there because they're working 10, 12 hours a day just to keep up with what's going on. Again, like I said, I agree with Mr. Brown. Thank you.
I evaluated the 2015 budget, and when I looked at that, 69% out of the budget was the pay. What I think we need to do is we need to cut the pays, we need to cut the positions, and something that no one also did not mention is the benefits. That's part of that budget. I believe that we need to look at the benefits and get a more cost-effective benefits plan or company that I feel that will help us to save more money. So we can look at not just, I don't know if we've been with this company, maybe, you know, I don't know how long we've been with the company, but again, no one mentioned the benefits. I think we need to look at the benefits and we need to take that into consideration because that is part of the 69%. Thank you.
All right, because we want to give the last 30 minutes or so for you guys to mingle with the crowd, we're going to come down to our last question. And out of fairness, Mr. Kelly started twice. We'll start with Mr. Brown this time. The last question, my favorite question, is what makes you proud to be a resident of the City of Wilkes-Barre?
That's a great question to end with, by the way. As I said, I was born and raised in the City of Wilkes-Barre. I have a history. I raised 3 children. I have 2 granddaughters here tonight that live in the City of Wilkes-Barre. I have another grandchild on the way. I am very proud of this city. We have our problems. Every city has their problems. Are our problems solvable? Absolutely. Is this city a city that we can be proud of again? Absolutely. We have to work together. Everybody here tonight has to work with the administration and the mayor's office. We have a city that can be vibrant. We have a area that we can develop and we can bring new jobs in. I want to bring this city to the next level. I want to create jobs. I want to bring jobs into the city. I want to provide services for you folks that we can continue to provide for you. I want you to be safe, and I want you to say to your neighbors and other people, look what we've done with this city. I had a gentleman approach me a few weeks ago, and he said, Councilman Brown, he said, I live out in Dallas. And he said, I want to move back to the city of Wilkes-Barre. I want to buy one of those loft apartments that I hear about. And I said, really? He said, yes. He said, I don't want to live in Dallas anymore. I want to come back to Wilkes-Barre. That is the future of our city, bringing people to our city that want to be, part of our community. But we also have to provide for those people a safe city, that people can live and work in the city. They may not live in the city, but if they work in the city, they should be just as safe as everybody else. As I said, my number one priority as your mayor is the safety and security of this city. And I love Wilkes-Barre. And you're going to see me here. And hopefully after May 19th, you'll see me on my campaign to be your next mayor. Thank you.
Again, I'm a lifelong resident of the city. My children live here, my grandchildren live here. I graduated from Myers High School, went to King's College, graduated in 1973. Back then it was an all-male school too in the end. That's how old I am. And I was ready to retire. But I couldn't stand the way I saw the direction of the city was going, because I love this city. And I said, if I can make a difference, I'm going to try to make a difference. I said, when we were kids, we could walk down Public Square. I lived on Dana Street, at Rolling Mill Hill. We walked downtown. And I was in 5th and 6th grade, and we never had a problem. My mother never worried about us. Now you can't let your kids go out of the house and not cross the street because you're in fear. That has to change. My love for the city is what drives me to run for mayor. That's why I ran for council, and I couldn't sit by and see what was going on. So I'm running for mayor so I can change things, so our kids, our grandkids, could be able to walk downtown and not be afraid of being mugged or shot. Thank you.
I'm going to be honest, I'm glad that this is the last time I'm coming up at the podium. I'm not a big fan of the podium, I'm going to be honest. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm more of a personal person. I prefer to be down, so it's very awkward for me to be behind the podium. Everyone that knows me, I have a strong passion for the community. I have a proven track record of that. I love Wilkes-Barre. There's nothing in this world I wouldn't do more than anything for the kids here of Wilkes-Barre. All I want to do is just help. I want the community to be more safer, more healthier. When I see all the issues that's going on here in Wilkes-Barre, it reminds me of back when I grew up in Newark, and I can see how it's turning into that. I don't want to see that, because I don't think the residents that are born and raised here realize the value of what they have here. And I really, for me, as being an outsider, I don't take it for granted. I'm a behavior science major, so I want to know how the clock is made instead of knowing what time it is. So I do a lot of research and studying, but one of the things I wanted to close with, and I felt it meant a lot to me, one of the ladies that I admire, and I happened to find out about her, is through Tom Wolf when he was running. And her name is Kim Bracy. She's the mayor of York. And when I did some studying on her website, she made this statement, and this is me, and I'm going to say this real quick. We know that our greater York community ultimately, we know that our greater York community ultimately will be judged not just by the strength of our business, or by the beauty of our architecture, or our thriving park, trails, and recreation. We'll be judged by our partnerships against poverty and our moral commitment to our next generation. We want a city where each young boy and girl cannot be anonymous or not drown in poverty, neglect, and instability. We want a city that is where it is virtually impossible for a young girl or boy to walk outside of home without being inundated. Thank you.
What am I most proud of? The neighborhoods and communities, all of you people here tonight. When I first walked in here, I thought there's not going to be many people here, and I had to see them bringing out more chairs. So that's what I'm very proud of. This many people involved in the process. As I'm out campaigning, going door to door, and I'm meeting a lot of great people, I'm very proud to say I'm a member of that community. And as I go outside of Wilkes-Barre, I'm not at all ashamed to say I'm from the city of Wilkes-Barre. And anybody who says, how can you still live in that city? I say, that city is my home, and that city should be your home.
I love Wilkes-Barre. Wilkes-Barre is a land of opportunity. It always was a land of opportunity, and today in its mire is actually even more of a land of opportunity. But going back, for me, my first, well, all right, it wasn't my first opportunity, but there I was at Parish Street Pool. And I was discovered by somebody, my wife. I was about, maybe 10 years old, 12, and she said to her girlfriend, that is exactly the kind of guy I never want to meet. And that is the truth. And I didn't even know she was looking, quite frankly. She's the most beautiful girl in the city, at least from my perspective. And I got to marry her, and I got to, with her, create a wonderful family. And 2 of my children are here tonight. One of them is a lawyer, and I've got another lawyer at home preparing for a case. And my daughter, who is, well, from my perspective, the best musician in Wilkes-Barre, Katie Kelly. There she is. One of my other opportunities, and I won't be able to get through them all, was as a 5-year-old. I had a junk route. Now, what other city could you have a junk route in when you're 5 years old? I had a junk route, and I would pick up garbage on Wednesdays, and then on Saturdays I had customers that I would go to, and they'd see my little urchin face knocking on the door, and boy, if they had rags, it was unbelievable. 2 cents a pound. Half a cent a pound for paper. And I made my money because my mother and father, well, my father gave me 10 cents, my mother gave me a quarter allowance. I mean, that was it. That was my first opportunity. And I wrote a book, as I told you, called Wilkes-Barre, Return to Glory. I would ask you to please consider going out to my website, because you can download that book for free. 384 pages, Wilkes-Barre, Return to Glory. How did we go from 30 seconds? Holy Baroli!
All right, on behalf of the Downtown Residents Association, I would like to thank Mr. Kelly, Mr. Brown, Mr. George, Ms. Duggins-Magdalinski, and Mr. Sorick for coming out today. I'd like to thank Wilkes University for hosting this, and of course, thank the over 100 people who came here tonight to hear these candidates speak. Thank you, and now the candidates have an opportunity to speak to all of you.